as we didn't have class, so make this video in order to try to take time for doing this. So we were talking about the persistence of memory of Salvador Dali, talking about the concept of this painting. So the idea is, we were talking about this is what makes this the style is a surrealistic. It's from the surrealism, and it's a painting. The important part here is to point how Mr. Dali, what makes this painting so particular between this art form style. So in this case, we were talking about the form, how he treats the shape of the things, the shapes in nature, how they were in this part, how they were painted in a strange way. Different or Magritte, who have different ways of expressing realism and take this art form, but how he makes this difference. Don't forget, it's very important to describe and observe what you see. For example, in the painting, we see this surrealism, we see this strange way of making forms in this in the middle, like it's a face, but it's like a spot that is melting, and the melting clocks, and the clock made out of ants. It makes that this is Salvador Dali use this. Salvador Dali makes these elements different, and that's make this painting distinctive. And I was talking to that this shape in the middle, the one with the mustache and the lashes, it's similar. Maybe it's a kind of a representation of himself. So we see here in this painting this particular from Mr. Dali of describing his reality. Now, in the subject, we have here, the subject is the time, but in this case, the time here is Salvador Dali talks about time in terms of death. Yeah, and here you require some investigation, because in this part we see that Salvador Dali, for example, he uses a lot of metaphors with his paintings, and the meaning of these things. The main significance of the watches, for example, that are melting, of course, is a symbol of the time. But we see these melting clocks. They change when he changes the shape, he changes the use of it, and he says always the time is passing, and it's going like the water in our fingers, between our fingers. So we can see how they are melting. And in the other part that shows us the use of death, and this is a very common place in Salvador Dali works, is that the use of the ants. He says that the time was like the death eating by tiny bites our lives, eating us little by little. So that's the subject of this painting. See that in that metaphor used by Salvador Dali. The other thing is the setting. As you said in the when we were talking, the setting is a beach. He used to live in this place, so the mountains and the sea we can observe in this painting. Are the places where commonly Salvador Dali used to go. In fact, the tree that is painted is an olive tree. The olive tree is very. It was in Catalonia. Catalonia is the place where he found these trees, these olives tree. So we see how setting in Spain, in Catalonia, becomes the setting of the painting, becomes a very important place for his painting, because it's like the scenario of all his paintings, and a lot of paintings have this example. So you can see that in other things like La Tentación de San Antonio, or you can see you can see this landscape in the elephants, los elefantes simulando ser cisnes. All those things, you can see this setting that is very common in Salvador Dali. And you can see, when you make your comparative chart, you can take pictures. Here I have in this book, I have a reference of the desert landscapes, and they make a relationship between Salvador Dali in 1930s and 1940s in the Second World War. And we see that there is a painting of John Milton made in 1942, and it's very similar. It's a common place and an influence of these settings. So we see this is very important in Salvador Dali's painting. In the other side we have the formal aspects of Salvador Dali paint. And here we have, we're going to talk about three: color, balance, and symmetry. So the color, it's a very bright color. It's a very bright color. He tends to use two main colors that are blue and yellow. Yellow. It's in this painting we have another colors, but the hue goes from blue to yellow in different hues. So here we have, in the part of the colors, in the blue, is a very saturated blue and light blue, and it's light. So we see this brilliant color and making a high contrast between the yellow and blue. The yellow is desaturated, and it's a contrast he uses. And he's going to take these two colors and he's going to make is going to create a set of colors between these two. And here we have a very important spot, in the orange watch, where you see this is a contrast between this darker side, it's the brown bottom, in the bottom of the painting, and there is, in this square, he has this yellow that makes a very high contrast, and it's a spot that he gave us from the whole painting. So we see here these two colors in different presentations that comes along the whole painting. The balance. When we talk about balance, we see what is the movement that the painting is showing us, or the artist is showing us in the painting. So here we have first a side. We begin from the bottom in these mountains that goes here, and the eye makes this. Take all from this space to this space. This bottom is a void space, so it's like all the time we are going to observe this movement, and we see all the flow of the watches, and it gives us the balance. It's not a balanced. It's not a. There is no symmetry in this painting. We see this movement from a corner to the corner. That is the invitation Salvador Dali makes us in order to observe the elements he placed in there. So we make this, and there is here in the center this element that is so enigmatic. So this is the balance. It's a non-balanced picture. Is not balanced, and in the middle has this spot. So the eye is going to start observing this, the mountains, the olive tree, the watches melting, and finally it's going to stay here in this part, finding out, the viewer is going to find out what is the element that is in the center. Yeah, so that's talking about the balance. And the symmetry, so we have to trace we can trace if there is a point here in the middle, we can see that it's not there is no symmetry in this. We see most of the elements are in this side and in this side, so there is a non-balanced composition. Yeah, and there is no, maybe we can find this symmetry between this part and this part. So there is a movement from a dark color to a light color here. This is in the second part, but we can observe that there is no symmetry. In fact, there is a movement we can observe in this painting, and there is a division here in the middle line, but it's a division in the middle line, but from a side to the other there is no balance, so there is no symmetry in this painting. So if you find more things and you think you can you don't agree with something and you have an opinion about these paintings, please let me know. Okay, thank you.